Good morning, cool creatures. We are going to be heading into chapter 4 today of Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NHIM. But before we go there, we're going to take a look at some of our vocabulary words, some of those words we came across in our reading. And I chose a few, and we're going to practice today with using context to help us figure out and make sure that we understand the meaning of the words as we're going through. So we've talked about context before and context clues, so this is a review, but it's really good practice. So we'll start off with the word abandoned. When we look at the word in the story, when her eyes got used to the dark, she saw that she had found a treasure, a winter's supply of food, carefully stored and then for some reason forgotten or abandoned. Forgotten or abandoned. So when I look at this sentence, I know what forgotten means. If I forget about something, I'm not thinking about it anymore. Or maybe I forgot where I put it. I don't know it's there. Now, in this case, a winter supply of food carefully stored and then, for some reason, forgotten or abandoned. So either I know they didn't remember, or I'm thinking that it has to be to do with something about it being just left. That word abandoned. Because if we forget something and we don't remember it's there, we don't come back for it. So then abandoned has to be something kind of similar. So they didn't come back for it. And we know that this word abandon, when we looked it up and I posted those definitions, it is an adjective and it describes something having been deserted or cast off. So left behind is another really good way to describe this word abandoned. Okay, let's try another one of our words from our story. We're going to look at the word restless now. Restless. But it was a restless sleep in which he tossed and moaned continually. Well, the cool thing here is I remember from some of our earlier lists, our spelling lists, that if we add the word less to the end, it changes the meaning of the base word. So the base word here is rest. We know that rest means sleep, time to recharge. So less takes away that meaning. It makes it the opposite. So restless means not getting any sleep, not being calm and still and relaxed, not recharging. Okay, so that one was pretty good. And we can back that up, that knowledge, with the context of the sentence, in which he tossed and moaned continually. You're definitely not getting rest if you're tossing and turning and making a lot of noise when you're trying to sleep. So we had two ways to help us, two bits of context. The context of the sentence itself and the context of something we've already learned. Let's do another one. Let's take a look at another. Oh, I like this one. Briskly. She loped along briskly, moving in the easy, horse-like canter mice use when they are trying to cover ground. So we know that Mrs. Frisbee is moving fast here because she's trying to cover ground. That means she's trying to move as quickly as she can. And if you think of a horse running, so a canter is a horse running, we can think briskly as moving fast. So if I go briskly through the store, I'm trying to get in and out pretty quickly. And maybe we have to use our context clues on this word loped too. She loped along briskly. Well, using everything else that I've picked up from this sentence, I think I can replace the word loped with run. So she ran along briskly. She loped along briskly. So it's going to be something similar to running. And I can tell that because this whole sentence is describing her moving very quickly. So briskly is moving fast, is a fast type of movement, and loped is similar to a run. So you can really use the context of the sentence. Sometimes you just have to think about it. How about we do one more together? All right. So this word abreast. When at length she came abreast of the barn, she saw the cattle wire fence that marked the other end of the pasture. So we know from our dictionary definition what this word means, but we can still figure it out in the sentence or come pretty close. When she came abreast of the barn, she saw the cattle wire fence that marked the other end of the pasture. Well, there are a couple words that would make sense here. When she came near the barn, or when she came next to the barn, she saw the cattle wire fence. So I would say that that word abreast would mean near or next to. And we know that when we looked at our definitions, it's side by side and facing the same way. So next to works out really well. Let's go ahead and do one more. Surge. Okay. She gripped the feathers on his back, felt the beat of his powerful black wings, felt a dizzying upward surge, and shut her eyes tight. So upward surge. So that's definitely going to be some kind of upward motion. And if you've ever been on a swing, on the swing set, you can think of that surge of that motion when you go forward and up on the swing. So you surge forward or you surge up. So it's some kind of movement, and we know it's in this upward direction. And that's pretty good for our understanding. And then when we look at the actual definition, it's a sudden forward or upward movement. So that idea of surging forward on a swing, that's sudden and fast, or moving upward suddenly and quickly. So we can practice this as we go through this book, and we can practice as we read some of our other stories, taking a look at our words and seeing, well, what do we already know if we don't recognize a word? We know what's in the rest of the sentence, so we can look at that and take a pick of words that help us understand. We can do this while we're listening as well. We can also think back to some of the rules we learned, like that adding that word less to the end of a word makes the meaning pretty much the opposite. So we were able to figure out restless by looking at the base word and what happens when we add less to it. So good practice with this. And I hope you all had a chance to look over your words, work on your spelling city. Make sure you take your time and don't rush, because remember, this is all practice. It's the practice that helps make progress. All right, cool creatures, I love you. And pretty soon we're going to be reading chapter 4. All right, love you. Bye-bye.